Hello, hello. Welcome back to Not My Monk Life. I'm Skye,
And I'm Aisha.
and we're so happy to see you, or for you to see us. Consistency in the slogan, people. We made it. Thank you so much for listening. This week, we just wanted to jump into a topic that's been on my mind, honestly, since we dropped our first episode. Because within 24 hours of dropping our first episode, we got our first hater. And we got our first hater. And then within a weekend of us dropping content, we had our version of viral, which is like, maybe 1,000+ people, but like a bunch of comments that got really intense, and people were fighting with each other, very mad at things that they perceived that I said. But all of that to say, initially when that first happened, it made me very anxious. So I'm like, I don't know who to reply to. I don't want to reply to the haters. Do I have to reply to people that are saying positive things? I don't really want to. I'm kind of freaking out. I'm feeling perceived aggressively. I'm feeling perceived through a lens that is dishonest with the reality of how I felt in the moment with what I said and even how I feel about it now. And similarly, so it's ironic because the same thing happened for the second time earlier today, where a clip of something that I said, sweet little old me, and it just made people angry, which is their emotion to feel. But I felt it a lot differently this time, where it didn't really affect me as much. And also, Aisha caught it first, so she handled business and she kicked him out of there, and we hit the block button and all of that. But it's so interesting being in that position where you're being so aggressively perceived by people and more so projected upon because you're there. And I feel like we both experience that in life day to day, but it's a bit more intense online, and it's all happening at once online. And people have even less boundaries with what they say online. And I just kind of want your thoughts on that, how you feel being in this position where you've always been like visible and on the internet and stuff like that, but where that perception feels like an endless pit of like this can really build and go deep, and people can project on a whole nother level. And yeah, how you feel about existing in that reality.
I love this. I love that we're talking about this because I feel like it's very in like we're in the journey right now, on the journey right now. And it's very present. We haven't had too much time to really reflect because it's all happening and unfolding in like this specific way. I will say, I remember when I was 16, I was on a couple things, and these videos have since been taken down, but I remember like they got um, a lot of views, a lot of attention. And really quickly, it was cool because at first it was a lot of positivity and a lot of like, we support you. I was getting emails. My mom was getting email. It was so much positive attention. And then all of a sudden, oh, there are people who don't understand me. But this was, like a couple of an hour and a half moments where I got to share and speak, and people watched, I feel like, most of it. The comments were not about a very short 15 to 30-second thing they saw. And having reels, which is still such a new world. I didn't start watching reels until last year. Last year, I think the year before. Yeah, my Instagram and stuff, like I didn't have any reels on it. Part of my algorithm and things, like it just was very new. And then when people would start sending them, then it's like, okay, this is what people are doing now. Now I understand. This is like people are watching stuff rather than just seeing still images. And it's so interesting because even though we know that a short clip is just that, it's a short clip, like especially our clips, they're from a longer podcast. People know that. I assume most people know that, right? And they know that there's more context, and it's just these few seconds that we're taking and putting out. So it's so interesting that even though you know that there's probably more context, you're holding someone accountable to put who they are, what all their thoughts are within a very, very short amount of time. And then deciding to engage it, comment on it. And it's that question, like one thing I've been sitting with, kind of reflecting on is knowing that, okay, what you share in that short amount of time, it is a creative task to see how much context you can give. But then simultaneously, you can't put every single thing out there. When you're speaking, like dialogue, your thoughts might evolve from then, like when you first created that. People go about and perceive things and choose to perceive things. Like that's, I think, the key theme is that again, when you're posting something or when you're commenting on, if someone says, this is my statement and this is my observation and my opinion, I feel like you have to know that all of that comes with exceptions or that applies to very specific contexts. And assuming that someone's opinion is so definite and like making this a little bit more concrete to what you were talking about with the TikToks, for example. The first one that started gaining a lot of views, or like for us, our version of viral, it was fascinating to see it unfold because I think we had two very different viewpoints on that in that moment where I'm like, okay, because it's Skye, I feel very protective, but at the same time, this is cool because what we did share in that clip, it's almost validating it. Like the controversy, the people who are on this side of, okay, you should not be putting that out here. It
Yeah.
is very interesting and intriguing to me because I feel like it was like just validating the points that you were trying to make too. We were vocalizing something on
Cat
reaction.
calling.
Was that? Yeah, catcalling and like people having different reactions and responses, and that's exactly what was generated in the comment section is
It
people having
really
very
was.
different reactions and responses.
It
And
really
so
was.
so it's like exhibit A, thank you guys for proving our points. But it just sparked this conversation too of you can't control how you're going to be perceived because it's like, okay, we don't know which clips are going to be seen or like which ones are going to be seen more or less. We kind of we might have an idea and it might be totally wrong. And it's always surprising to even see what generates engagement because it's just that reminder of like, oh yeah, people have certain perceptions already in their heads and even their own reflections are at like a certain point based on their experiences and based on how much they've sat with things, et cetera, et cetera. And even though we don't know each other, the internet brings us together and divides us like simultaneously all at the same time where it's like I know you, I know what you're saying, or I know you well enough to know that what you're saying is wrong. Or I know that not you well enough, I know the experience well enough to know that this is not the way you should be perceiving this or you should
Right.
be going about that. And that's what's just very, the first word that pops into my head is comical, honestly. Like what is happening?
It is though. It is, and it's. I feel like I've been preparing. I think for this disconnect in perspectives. I think in life I kind of just like mind my business and do my thing. But it's been very aware for a very long time that people live very deeply in their own life algorithm. Like you're fed your experience, you're fed your circumstances, and you're so deep in it, it's very hard to perceive that someone else has lived their whole life with a whole other set of factors. They see everything so differently. Like you walk into a room and you see the chairs and the tables and the lights, and they walk into the room and they just see the wall. Like they're just that's what they see. They didn't even see the chairs, and so like the experience is so different. And then you come into this where like that clip where we were talking about catcalling, and I really it's funny because in posting it, and I remember the moment of speaking on it, I feel like I was giving grace to people who experience catcalling in a more just they're less jarred by it, and
Hmm.
I was giving grace to that situation, but it wasn't perceived that way at all. And I'm like, and I think in the very moment when that first happened, I was just kind of like, if they can take this, where I was literally, and it's always that for me, just in life in general, where I'm like, I feel like I'm defending them, and now they're mad at me.
Hmm.
Which one, it's not my job to defend them, and two, it's not my responsibility how they feel about the things that I say either. Both are done out of a place of love, so I just need to move on and keep it pushing. And I think the same thing happened for this most recent clip where I was like, it was like me a year and a half ago talking about boundaries and dating and being like, I don't want someone to text me good morning every single day when I've only known you for a week. Like that was the gist of the whole clip. And I'm like, I literally look like a baby in that clip too. I'm like, oh, look at her go. She's so sweet. And it made a lot of men very, very mad,
Men
which
specifically.
It was only the men, because that's the thing though too. It was only men who were saying really like mean things, but the girlies were like liking it. Like 50 girls are liking the video, and there's like 10 men, which is a big. That's a good. It's a lot of
It's
men.
probably like our most amount of comments.
But yeah, they're out here like. "Arr." Which, if I have to be your punching bag, honestly, take it elsewhere. I do not accept that. I rebuke it. But I'm like, why would I internalize the loud minority? Because that's what happens a lot of the time. We internalize a loud minority, and it's like, oh, well, like when you're bullied in high school, and someone says something about the way that you walk, and then for the rest of your life, you think you walk like a duck, sweetheart.
Mhm.
No one else has ever thought that before. Like a very small group of insecure people, because it comes from such a deep set of insecurity to like want to tear someone else down. And that's an unfortunate reality for them to carry. And we wish them luck on their journey. It's like, don't take the thoughts and opinions of someone who's deeply insecure personally. And don't let yourself fall into a vulnerable moment where a stranger's opinion means more than your opinion of yourself. And that's a big thing that I feel like was top of mind for us both. And we talked about this before launching our podcast of like, it's gonna happen. So let's just stay grounded in ourselves and just how we perceive ourselves and who we know ourselves to be, and also who we want to engage with. Because it's like, okay, we had like 10 comments on that last video, and we had to block just about every single person because they're haters, and who cares? Like, engagement's engagement. Okay, no, I don't want you engaging with me. Get out of my house.
Mhm.
This isn't for you, babes. If you're so disturbed by my existence, get out of my house. We're for whoever is for us. Whoever gains from us the same way that we gain from them. Get out of my house, buddies. No offense. You don't even want to be here. You don't want to be in my house. So I'll just kick you out because for some reason you're not taking yourself out that door. I will escort you myself before I call the cops.
Yeah. Before Skye calls me and I gotta escort you out.
Literally. Watch out for my people, okay? They're coming.
I like what you said about the importance, and not even the importance, it's just like you have to stay grounded in yourself because when you're speaking from that place of authenticity, when you're speaking your truth, and we were talking about this when those clips got, they were just a little bit controversial. But when you're calling things out from your experience, which are true from you, but also your observations, that's going to generate a lot of discomfort in other people because their illusions, their experience, their individual experience of their own reality is now getting challenged because you're offering a different lens, different perspective, different layers that they might not have experienced. And that feels very challenging, or that just feels like it's challenging their perception of reality. And that can be very distorting. You have to stay grounded in your experience, but also flexible and open enough to be able to hear different viewpoints. Because for that catcalling video, for example, it's not that we were not talking about anyone's experience being invalid, but we were talking about like levels and layers, and some people might not lock up the way other people do because there are different levels of sensitivities. There are different um frequencies. There are a lot of differences in experience, and it's not that one's wrong or one's worse or one's whatever, but it's just the fact that okay, you just might not have experienced it in this way, so your reaction and your response, it just might not be the same as someone else's. And also, because there are different levels of this certain behavior that people are experiencing, maybe, perhaps, it might be easier to let it slide when it's not this level. Being a glance is very uncomfortable, but it's not the same as being grabbed, and the body can store both of those the exact same way. I know I know that being looked at in a certain way does feel like a physical violation. And so
Uh,
and so it's not that this experience is just not as important as this other experience, but sometimes you convince yourself that even though I'm internalizing something in a certain way, it's not that bad. So when someone talks about their experience being really intense or whatever, now I'm like judging it through, okay, but it's not this. Or it is this, so you should be feeling this way about it. It's just an intricate issue because you really have to be so aware of what you feel and experience in yourself. And I feel like the more you sit with your own feelings and your own perceptions of yourself, like how you perceive yourself and how you think you should perceive yourself, and which one
Mhm.
and like where the differences are, or which one you want to sit in more, then it's just not a natural feeling to perceive other people. Like it just becomes irrelevant, I feel like.
Yeah. I feel like so many people find validation through others' experiences and being told that this is what we should what time we're on.
Yeah.
Whereas like yeah, and we've talked about this I think in previous episodes of finding, and maybe it's an episode we haven't dropped yet, but in finding that just validating your own experiences and validating the things that make you uncomfortable, the things that make you feel good. Like just do what feels right in your body. Like if you want to rollerblade down the Atlanta Beltline while singing out loud and twirling a freaking fan, do it because it makes you happy. There are going to be a lot of people side eyeing you, but there will also be a lot of people who get it. Because a lot of people are like, oh, that's the Beltline fedora guy who
Yeah.
just roller skates and sings. That's just what he does.
And I want to do that too. In
Yeah,
my
it's
own
like,
way. Like what's my equivalent version of that? I want to feel that, but like how does my body experience that?
and if I did that, I think I'd be freaking out inside. But but it's like it took that whoever that guy who does do that because there is a guy on the Beltline who wears a fedora and rollerblades and does his whole thing. It took him tapping into himself and what feels good in his frequency because no one showed him to do that. And no one said, "Hey, you know what you should do? Just peacock down the Beltline." And similarly, so like get yourself out of situations that don't feel good. If this is like if say it's catcalling and you're like on a certain street or you're just like near a group of people who are, and not even just like catcalling like hey just a random person on the street, so say you're like at a club or you're in an environment and a group of people are talking to you and your girlfriends a certain type of way and your girlfriends are okay with it because their capacity is different than yours but you are not okay with it, you can walk away. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with them or that they just like live for male attention. It just means that you are very uncomfortable and you have every right to remove yourself and no one should judge you for that. Your friends shouldn't judge you for that. They shouldn't project onto you for that. If you're around people and they're all doing drugs and you're like, I don't want to do drugs. Okay. Do you need us to leave and do it someplace else? Like, there's room to hold space for everyone to experience life in their own specific way. And it's not the most common thing to be in a room where everyone does something different and accepts everyone for it. But when you are in that room, it's really amazing. It's really amazing.
I think that a lot of times, because you know how we're biologically wired to mirror other people. And so there's
Yeah.
that tendency, though, sometimes where you're looking to other people to know how to respond, but those people are looking to other people to know how to respond. And it's
Yeah.
like, first, you gotta check in with yourself and feel, does my body want to respond? And so there's like that social cue aspect, but then there's just the validation and the awareness and the reflection on the actual feeling. So, like the guy on the Beltline, for example, I want to feel that level of joy and freedom. I see this person feeling so free in themselves. I want to feel freedom. Okay, let me try to do what he's doing. Nope, not feeling freedom at all. This is not my thing. But wait a second. When I go for a swim, I feel the exact same thing. Like, I found my version of freedom. Or, like, yeah, whatever it is, it's okay to look to other people to know how to respond. That's, I think, in our wiring. Like, I think that that's natural and normal to look to other people to know, okay, is what I'm doing okay? Like, how is this perceived? Isn't a bad thing to look at. Like, it's not bad to look at how things are being perceived because that's being a social being. But is the limitation or the fear of perception in a certain way or the judgment to someone else and putting the negative perception on someone else, is that where is that coming from? And is that coming from a limitation that you have within yourself and a blockage you have within yourself, or from other people's voices that, isn't really something you've sat with and aligned with. Um, but yeah, it's just it's necessary to be reflective and aware of what's happening around you and take feedback and like hear it out, but it's the only way to really distinguish of what you take in is to sit with yourself and to really feel into, okay, who am I? What really does that mean and what does that mean for myself? And then also looking at like what does that mean in the big picture of things and how do I not stray away from that?
How do you feel like that sense of looking outside to see what is kind of okay? How do you feel like that translates itself like in relationships of like almost having an additional set of perception happening at the same time as your set of perception? And yeah, how do you feel like that kind of like blends together, having two people perceiving the world at once, trying to share a lens?
Well, I think that it goes back to connection and empathy. One, when you just return to that space of love and being able to see a person not as your property or not as someone that you own, but as their own individual person, like first establishing just that relationship and awareness of, okay, this is a person that I love or tolerate or whatever it is. This is
That's
a
all.
person I'm in the room with, but there is that like you have to see them as their own person. But then you have to also see them as a person just like you. Like we are just two people. We can be two different people, but at the end of the day, we are two people. And that I feel like for me forms that connection. Like it allows me to return back to that sense of, okay, we're connected at this level of being two humans just trying to figure it out, but we're two individual people. So I can have my perceptions of the world, you can have yours, and if we're on this planet together, existing together, for me, sorry. I was about to be like, I'm really open to hearing other people, but sometimes it's hard. And I think we should get into that because sometimes it's hard to not perceive or to not put judgments on other people because it's like you, well, again, I think that all just comes back to that space of empathy because you can tell when something's coming out of love and when something's coming from a place of, no, this is their truth versus
Yeah.
like, okay, no, this is just coming out of fear or some sort of disconnect or insecurity. I don't know if that quite answered your question, but love and empathy. No, not love and well, love, empathy, and connection. The answers to everything.
I feel like it did answer my question. Love, empathy, and connection. I get what you're saying. It's interesting because I feel like I fall into that with like the young people in my life where I'm like I have let me accept them for where they're at and what they're doing and not project a reality that I maybe assumed for them or I assume for them or I assume is safer than what maybe they're participating in or their choices and trust that they know what reality works best for them. But there are moments where it's like, okay, my perception of reality is I need you to do this to stay safe. And I can bring that up when it makes sense. But there are other times where it is us just like, it's easy as an adult to have your idea of the world and think that everyone needs to align with it. Whereas, like, someone living a different life, maybe someone who's younger or whatever, is just like, no, I've able to live my life just like this and I'm doing fine. And that's beautiful and it's amazing. And we like don't want people. We always push against the idea of people learning the same lessons that we learned. We're like, I had to go through that. You shouldn't have to go through it. Let me just tell you not to do that or not to be involved in that. Just don't even have to worry about it. It's like you really can't do that for people. There's only so much that you can say. The best option is to lead by example, and then beyond that is just to support them after they fall. Because you can't keep people from living their lives and going on their journey.
That's such a good note. Because I'm on that other side where it's like, okay, I see what you're trying to tell me not to do, but I gotta experience it myself to just be sure. Like, I definitely am. one of those people that enjoys learning things the hard way, and I hate admitting that, but I've gotten to a point of acceptance where I'm like, no, I really signed up for this. Like, I really am trying to find the knob to the door in the the darkness, and I've never been to this room before. The part of like heavy sigh. I realize I do this now. I kind of understand this more of like the whole parent thing when it comes to I just wish you would listen. I'm telling you this out of pure goodness and for your own benefit. Watching my brother who's 10 years younger than me and having to watch him grow up and go through these different experiences and being like, okay, I wish I could just intervene and tell him what to do or how to handle things. And now I get what my parents experience with that discomfort of just having to let people go on their own journey and having that sense of empathy of I know how that feels. Like I really understand the level of emotions and whatever's going on, but this is just like a rite of passage moment sometimes, and it breaks my heart to say that. The importance of support that you were talking about is being able to hold that awareness and offer your own experiences and what you learned, your own insights, but then knowing that people are gonna choose to take it, people are going to choose to hear it, but be like, no, but I still gotta do it. um, and then being there to help them in the
Yeah.
afterlife sometimes. Like I love that.
I think the same thing applies to just existing in the world and being open, and that same thing that we touched on earlier of like on the internet it feels very intense, like it's all kind of coming back to us really quickly of all these people disagree with me. That feels very loud. But it's that same way of just walking down the street and not taking anyone personally. Don't take the negative personally, don't take the positive personally. And I was thinking through that whole thing too of like being perceived, because I feel like you always hear you can't internalize the positive feedback, you cannot internalize the negative feedback. And I was always just kind of like, okay, but don't you kind of want to feel good with some of the positive feedback? But I was reflecting on that and I'm like, stuff like catcalling, that's technically positive feedback. That's someone saying you're so hot and sexy. Someone who you trust, and then
I've
someone
never
who you
thought about it that
trust,
way, but
like,
that's true.
it is. I know. This hit me today in the car. And it's like someone that you trust, right? Deciding they want to break the boundaries of your friendship and try to pursue something sexual with you in the spur of the moment. That's positive feedback. This is all positive feedback. Even someone being jealous of you and like making weird comments because they think that you're too smart or something is also in a way positive feedback. That's border positive and negative. But it's like that's not for us to internalize. It's not for us to internalize the desire of others. Because if you're just walking down the street and people decide they desire you and they're like, I wanna have these fantasies about this random person that I don't know, and then we like reject it, we move on, they get mad, that's not for us to be responsible for the fact that they saw something that they perceive as beautiful and now they want to own it. It's not for me. The same way it's not for me if someone sees me on the street and thinks that I'm just a hideous monster and wants to freaking yell at me for that too. Or someone on the internet hears me say something that I think is innocent and they take it as an affront to all men. An affront to all men, their
Yeah,
child,
you're
their
never gonna
parents.
get a boyfriend ever,
I'm like,
ever, ever.
dang, I was,
Oh, sorry, I forget. I'm
I'm like,
delayed.
ooh, low power mode. Oh no, you're, but it's like, it's not something for me to, it's still recording. It's just me now, you guys. Hold for technical difficulties. I'm waiting for Aisha to come back. Since it's just the two of us, let me tell y'all a joke. What the chicken say when it crossed the road? Bark! You were expecting that, were you? You're expecting a one-liner joke. I'll wait for Aisha to come back. All of that to say that you're not responsible for anyone's feelings, whether it's negative or positive, and it's not for you to internalize. And I think that there's this sense of feeling guilty almost that the world is out here projecting, say something positive onto you. Say a bunch of people want to sexualize you. That's not for you to take on. It's not your job. Don't feel bad about the fact that you're not into it. Because why would you want strangers to sexualize you? You want your partner to sexualize you. Who cares if a bunch of random people don't agree with your opinion online? Why do you want strangers to agree with your opinion online? You want to be able to have robust conversations with your friends. And I'll be so for real with you when I'm with my friends. I don't expect my friends to agree with everything that I say. I really do not. If every single one of my friends agree with everything that I said, I'd be bored. I'm here to have complex conversations. And so why approach the way that I am in the rest of the world in a different way than I experience my life in my internal world? Like, I'm not even trying to get, like, if I'm not, like, with you, I'm not trying to get compliments from you all the time. I don't want my close guy friends to feel sexual ways about me. So why would I want strangers on the street to feel sexual ways about me? That's not connecting. I'm not going to change the way that I move in the world within my world just because this outside world seems different and they're asking me to be different than who I am. I've curated my world to be the way that it is meant to be for me, and I'm just going to move this way for everything that I do. I'm not going to change it for anybody. Don't know what else to chat with you guys about besides the reality. Perception. Now, I think the people that you surround yourself with, they can affect how grounded you are in your perception of the world. And it's really beautiful to keep people around you who encourage you to live in your world. You don't have to be dragged into theirs. They want to hear about the world that you choose to live in. They want to encourage you on your journey, but they hold steadfast in their own as well. And having that is super encouraging. And don't be afraid of that either. Don't feel like you need everyone around you to live the same life as you for your experience to be valid, because that's just not required for a positive life on Earth. You've got it. Doing your own thing. Having a romantic partner and combining like your perception of the world with theirs, as much as it can be like, I just had a great point of learning to respect the other person's perspective while also holding on to your own. I think that there's also a lot of room for expanding your perspective because of the partner that you have. Like having someone who looks at you and one sees you for who you are and empowers you for the things that you do and sees your beauty and your humor and your light and encourages you on your journey. That's something that you can't buy with money. That's something that's so life-changing and trajectory changing. But then also someone who helps you understand the world. And I think a lot of times as like a young woman, you are taught to fear the world, and you're kind of told that if you go to the gas station at night, someone's gonna attack you, and that the movie Taken is very real. And if you go to Italy for some reason, you'll get trafficked. Like all of this is, and it sounds dramatic, but it actually is very real. But having a partner in your life who goes like, you're safe, or you're not responsible for people being creeps and weirdos, or yeah, that person is mean to you because they have issues. It's really has nothing to do with you. Like that can be very freeing. And I feel like it can make you walk through life and just feel safer, which makes a lot of the interactions smoother and better. And I think that's an amazing potential to have with the people that you engage with, you know? Because it's only fair when you have like parents or people who are older than you or loved ones. It's very easy to project fear onto the young people in your life because you are obsessed with them. You are obsessed with these kids. It makes total sense. But it's also easy to get blinded in that state of fear. So it's really amazing to have new people walk into your life who want nothing but freedom for you. And for you to live to like the highest capacity you've ever wanted to. That's really a gift. Welcome back.
Hi, wait, you've been here this whole time?
Yeah, I've been keeping them busy. I went on like 3 different tangents.
A true professional podcaster. Skye said the
She was only
show
a little
must
awkward.
go on when it goes wrong.
Oh, she left again. It's just us again, you guys. Just us. Welcome back. Welcome back to my corner. Now that she's gone, I'm going to tell you about how awesome she is. Aisha is a gift in my life. I'm so grateful that I met her. I'm very, very grateful. We started hanging out in 2020, and she's just a gift to this planet, and this is the start of what she's going to do, honestly. Just y'all wait and see. Like, her capacity creatively and execution-wise and just with light and having a message and a presence to spread is like huge, 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 huge. And I'm grateful to everyone that gets to know her now and ever. But there's going to be a point where everyone's going to want to know her name. And you can say you knew her when. I also knew her when. I'll know her the whole time. We're gonna be bros. She's my best friend, so she's really talented and amazing. Just wait till she gets back. Let's make sure she doesn't cut this out of the episode, because she edits the episode. Put in the comments how much you love her and how awesome she is and how intelligent and how impactful her opinions are.
I'm curious because you might have touched on this while I was away, but I wanted to know and ask you just because it is really easy to go through the world and have so many comments telling you who you are. And it's not always the case that you spend most of your life knowing who you are. Usually there's a point where you're like, oh, wait, I've internalized other people's words and stuff for the past however many years. And like, you know who you are, like, you know that there's a part of you that knows who you are. And so you go back and connect to that and whatever, you know? But for you, because I feel like I always look at you as someone who has a strong sense of self, and you are gorgeous. You do get comments and stuff. So I was just wondering if there was ever a moment in your experience or how you've navigated not getting validation from the amount of praise you get on appearance. Or you talk about how your mom was really helpful and really positive and helped you build that or like focused on confidence, or that was an active thing that was being enforced. So yeah, I guess even like with that integrated, what does that experience of knowing how you're going to be perceived, knowing that, okay, yeah, the world does think I'm pretty, but having that distinguished from, no, but I know I'm pretty. Like that, I don't know if that question makes sense, but being able to understand the world perceives me this way, but I also perceive myself as beautiful, and it doesn't really matter what or how the world perceives me as beautiful. But like, when did that, the moment you were like, yeah, I'm beautiful? I'm just curious to know what your experience is with that statement.
The moment that I like internalized being beautiful was when I shaved my head bald. And like bald headed. And I wasn't expecting to feel that way either. I don't really know what I was expecting besides rebellion against existence, I suppose. Shaved my head bald, and I was like looking in the mirror and I was like, I've never felt beautiful before, but I think I felt in that moment like I was allowed to feel beautiful. Like I was like, I'm allowed to sit here, look at myself bald headed in the mirror and be like, that's a baddie. Like I'm allowed. I didn't feel like there was any judgment on me sitting and appreciating myself when I was bald. And that's like when all of that, that's kind of when that started flowing for me. I took the time to allow myself to really feel that. I think what's interesting is growing up, there were comments of like, oh, you're very pretty, but I grew up around a lot of, to be honest, there just weren't really many Black people. When I moved to Forsyth County, when I was 8, the Black people kind of disappeared. And so it would happen like every few months where someone would say something and they'd say this comment, which I do not stand behind at all. No one take offense, please. But people would say the comment of like, you're the prettiest Black girl I've ever seen. But these are white people who grew up around no Black people. You've never seen a Black person. Also, it's not a compliment to compare me against my whole entire race. That's very strange. But with that, it really helped me not internalize people's opinions. I was like, thanks. I get that your intention is to say something nice to me, so I wasn't like mad at anyone, but it meant nothing to me. I wasn't going home being like, Mom, guess what? the prettiest Black girl that Emily has ever seen. No, because we'd all be like, that's ridiculous. Like that's the most ridiculous sentence I've ever heard from people who I see where you live. You don't even know what Black people look like, babes. So, like, am I supposed to take this opinion personally? And no offense to the people who, 10%. My phone's at 2%. But no offense to the people who said that. They didn't know what they were saying. They're children. And their intention was to say something kind to me. But it's like, so I didn't internalize that much. And then I got to college and I went to Georgia State University, downtown Atlanta. And then all the Black people showed up. And then I realized that I was actually attractive. I wasn't just some like person in a zoo. Yeah, but I was still a little exotic because I mean, I'm still existing in an abnormal way. But I get to Georgia State, and then it's like, no, people are like attracted to you, like sexually, and people feel a type of way about you, and the people that are 30 and 40 and 50, and this random man, and this homeless guy, and this woman, and then this person, and then like it felt very overwhelming. It felt like a lot, and it felt very objectifying. So it felt very like just like I was just a thing, and it was very overwhelming to me, because I'm like, people don't care about who I am really as a person in this moment. I had a lot of like young women at that age be like, I thought you were a bitch because of your face. And also the fact that I'm relatively reserved, especially when you first know me or I'm in a space. I'm like, I'm not scared or anything. I'm not I wouldn't consider it shy. I'm just minding my business aggressively. And when you have like whatever attached to that, it can be perceived as an affront to everything going on. So that never felt like a compliment either. It felt very othering. And then I shaved my head. I was bald, and I was like, "You're so beautiful," and I felt beautiful. And so to this day, like I've never, even when I was a baby, I never did good with attention of people giving me compliments. So for me, the thing that makes me feel the most beautiful is the moments where I've been bald, but then also like beautiful women complimenting me. Like you being my best friend and you thinking that I'm beautiful is the most affirming
So
thing.
same.
Like I don't need anything else. Like what?
I remember when you first complimented me, and I told everybody. I was like, I have this really, really gorgeous friend, and she told me I'm beautiful. And like, it just meant the entire world, and every single time it means the entire world. And I think about that a lot because we talked about this when we were in Italy over the summer. That sense of like, oh, Skye thinks I'm beautiful. And she's one of the most beautiful people ever. Yeah.
It's so real though. And it's something that I've known for a minute where I'm like, I want my friends to enjoy looking at my face. That means something to me.
Yes.
Like genuinely. My friends and my mom thinks I'm beautiful. I'm making my mom proud. And that's really as far as it goes. I genuinely can't conceptualize anyone else's perspective of the way that I look because honestly, I could just go to like a different county and no one's gonna bat an eye my way, you know?
That, yes. I
Yeah.
I don't know if we've ever really sat down and talked about our experiences like this in this way because we have very, very similar experiences. Because I also lived in Forsyth County for a minute. Skye and I didn't know each other when we lived there, but I was also the most beautiful black girl that some people and I got complimented on that because they literally, I'm Indian, like 100% Indian, but no one had ever seen like a lot of people in Forsyth have never seen a person of color. They do know, okay, white people, black people. If you're not this, you're this. So I remember that. Okay, there you are. I remember that being a thing to where I thought I must be the ugliest human being ever because I wasn't the beauty standard by any means. And sometimes you would get those comments. Like, all jokes aside, you would get those comments that are like, you're the most beautiful this. But it was very much this versus that, and you're top notch in this, or in that, I should say. Um,
Yeah.
and it wasn't until I moved right before high school and I moved to Decatur and I was in Atlanta all of a sudden. I'm like, wait, first of all, there are people who have naturally curly hair. Interesting. There are people who have darker skin and they don't have spray tans. That's also cool. Look at that. And all of a sudden, it went from not getting much attention by men. And like, I would get attention from men when I was in Forsyth, but it would always be old ass men. Like, it would be old men. And going to Decatur, I remember how much of it almost felt like people were pulling a prank on me because I went from getting just very, very limited attention on my physical attractiveness to all of a sudden it's like everybody wants to put something inside of me. And that was really confusing for my brain. And I really thought it was a joke at first. And when you go from one extreme to the other, for me, it's like I couldn't feed off of this because this feels one, this doesn't feel real, and it also feels very dehumanizing. And then also now all these girls think I'm doing all these things where it's like I haven't even had my first kiss yet. I haven't even held hands with a boy yet, and a lot of people won't be my friend because they think of me in this light because of the way other people have, the way men are perceiving me and what men want to do. Suddenly I'm being perceived in a very, very particular lens where I'm not even quite sure what's happening because I'm still getting out of this, or I'm still believing like I'm not pretty at all. And I don't know what's happening at all. So it kind of forced me to come to my own terms of, okay, what is beauty? What helps me feel beautiful? And it also helped because my mom didn't wear makeup. I was never raised in a household where makeup was a priority.
I want you to expand upon this point more, though. I know you say you're gonna wrap it up, but please do not, because I was literally so sad when it started cutting out. Because I'm like, she's reaching such facts. Like, I want to hear so much more about
Oh,
this.
it's so funny because this is like a whole long conversation. I was talking about this kind of with my cousin because I was thinking about where we were talking about beauty, and she's like, you know how like your mom just passes down all of these specific like satin silk clothing to you? I'm like, my mom's lesbian. Did not do that. She had flannel t-shirts. Um, I'm like, I was raised in a household where femininity and how I'm perceived externally and how beauty is perceived externally just wasn't the way I even was aware of it being perceived in my household. Like it just all of this clothing, hair, appearance, all of that kind of stuff on this like surface level or external level was just never part of my reality like at all. So I didn't even no, like I had no exposure really and no connection to it. All I know is that people wanted me to be doing things. And I remember in middle school, like there was a little bit of shame because I used to get made fun of for not having like makeup on. It's like you need to be wearing lip gloss and blah 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 because that's what the cool people do. And I remember in high school, um, like my ninth grade picture day, this guy was being so mean because he's like, girls should be wearing like at least mascara. Like you need to be wearing makeup. And I'm like, I also just had this rule with myself because my self-esteem was so low and I didn't want to get addicted to something external that I'm like, I'm not allowing myself to wear makeup until I can actually say I love myself. And
Yeah.
so I remember having that rule with myself. Um, and all of that really helped me explore what beauty meant. But then simultaneously, I was so shut off from this physical aspect that I think is still important when it comes to beauty and or like I know it's important when it comes to beauty and being able to enjoy who you are and enjoy your body and all of that. It's not just it doesn't matter what you look at like at all. Like, you should feel confident in what you look like and you should have fun exploring and experimenting with how you feel about your physical perception. But knowing that it comes from you and there's nothing wrong with enjoying your friends thinking you're really pretty. There's nothing wrong with your man thinking you're pretty. My mom, before I left to move to New York, I remember this so vividly. We were in the kitchen and she was just like, Aisha, you're so beautiful. Like, you're so pretty. And I burst into tears because we had, like, I didn't know she thought I was pretty. I didn't realize that I didn't know that she thought I was pretty. And she's like, I just didn't want to tell you that because I assume you're fed that every single day. And I don't want you to think that you're limited to that. And it was so sweet hearing that from my mom,
Wow.
but I also needed to hear that from my mom. I'm like, no, it
Yeah.
means a lot to hear from women, and it means a lot to hear from you as my birth giver. But also, yeah, like it is interesting because I think a lot of people might think that I'm internalizing or not internalizing at all these comments on the street, or like not um, taking them to mean something very specific or like making meaning in a specific way. And it's like I'm actually kind of scared of these comments on the street. Even if they are kind and sweet. I'm like, nope, don't look. um But I want my friends to, like you were saying, I want my friends to enjoy looking at my face. I want my mom to be like, "Oh my God, this thing came out of me and she's really pretty."
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, thank you for asking me to expand. I don't think I've really said a lot of that out loud.
I want us to have another podcast all about this on another
I
time.
think we
But like
should.
we really should. But like you said, like your mom, like I think that my mom told us that she loved us every day. She hugged us every day. And she told me and my sister that we were beautiful. But it was never attached to it, like our bodies or what our, like my mom is obsessed whenever I have my hair and like my little four, I have type 4C hair. When she like likes my hair whenever I do all this other stuff, whenever I have my hair, my little tight little afro, she's like, oh, it's so beautiful, it's so amazing. Like it's her favorite thing in the world, and that's not what society tells you is pretty. They do not tell you that a 4C unstretched, tied to your head afro is pretty, but it's one of her favorite things. And like that was one thing where like our mom made sure that we felt beautiful. She always bought us like little dolls that looked like us. So I remember I got this like you could have like an American Girl doll that looked like a little American Girl doll baby and send them a photo of you and they make it look like you. And cost like 100 some bucks and we got it back and it didn't have any even close to type 4 curls. It had maybe like wavy, barely curly type 3A curls or something like that. And like the hair type wasn't right. And my mom didn't think the skin tone was right. She was just like, this does not look like you at all. So instead, my mom was like, we're returning this. And I was just like, okay. And she researched and researched and researched. And she found this doll that is based on a little book about this girl from Nairobi, Africa, who plays soccer and also solves mysteries. And she had the darkest, like dark chocolate skin, and she had a type 4 kinky hair. And it was this doll. And she's like, here you go, this is one for you. Because she really wanted her to look like me enough in a way where I felt seen, and it was so sweet, and I loved it. Like the girl had the cutest little soccer outfit, and I love reading, and she solves mysteries, and it was so great. And like my mom went that extra mile to find things to expose us to stuff that looked like us. So we weren't looking at magazines, we weren't looking at music videos, we didn't just have like white Barbies because at the time when we were growing up, it was hard to find a black Barbie.
That's a
It was
very new
not.
thing.
It was difficult.
Anyway, my mom was great. My mom put in the extra mile to make sure my sister and I felt beautiful. And I think that, like, I don't know, that means a lot. Even with my mom, she is a black woman, but she is a black woman. Also, she's a lighter skinned black woman, lighter than I am, and lighter than my sister. And socially, you're taught that lighter skin, she has looser curls. You're taught that all this stuff is more desirable and more attractive. And she made sure to never, ever make us feel that way, knowing that we had darker skin than her and we had tighter curls than her, had the tightest curls you can get on this planet. Like, she made sure that we felt beautiful in our skin, and she wasn't like ever projecting her sense of beauty. And I think my mom, I don't just think, I know she's so beautiful. I didn't know until recently that not that she never felt beautiful, but she isn't as secure in her appearance as like my sister and I are. But my mom's stunning, literally stunning. She's like she's like the face of a blues award. Like, she's just stunning woman. But I talked to her about it, and because of her own, like, she's not as grounded in her physical beauty, she made sure that my sister and I felt very, very comfortable and confident in ours, and she went the extra mile for that, and at a time where it just wasn't that easy. So I appreciate her for that. And it's that whole thing of like, my mommy thinks I'm beautiful, and that's all that matters. Like, because I literally, anyone else's opinion, it just doesn't, I don't know if people can understand how little it really is internalized. Like, it's a world, it's like you think of like the Angelina Jolies and the Megan Foxes, right? I'm not saying I'm anywhere in their realm of whatever the heck, but they're seen as stunning, but they have both communicated feeling insecure physically. And it's like they'll never They'll never conceptualize being physically attractive in mass the way people expect them to. It just kind of is what it is. Because they're not an object to be wanted and desired in mass. That's just not how life works. We're not AI. We're not perceived with the like perspective of everyone decided that I'm cool, so I'm cool. It's like no, that has nothing to do. If our sense of self was that fickle, we would fall over and die.
And some of us do. I don't know what's happening with my audio because I'm hearing my echo long after I talk. But, and judging by how your face looks,
It might be me. This has been our technical difficulty episode, but we dropped gems. So we're still gonna drop the episode. This is a great spot to wrap up, I think, because we have a lot to work with and we really fought for our lives tonight. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Our future ones will be less technically difficult. We don't promise, because we're just people, but we are doing our best. So we'll try and figure out what the heck happened this time. But we hope you still enjoyed the episode, enjoyed listening, and
go tell mom
engage
that
with us
she's
on social
beautiful.
media.
Tell her mom that she's beautiful.
Literally, go tell your mom that she's beautiful, because you know she is. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we're on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Not My Monk Life. You're probably seeing this on YouTube. And then, I don't know, message us, DM us. If you're like, I want you guys to talk about this, to talk about that. We will take your feedback, because that's cool to be perceived by you. We will take your perception any day. Maybe not. I don't know.
My technology is too weird, and I don't know if this is going to come through, so I'm staying mute.
Okay. Well, thank y'all for listening. Thank you as always. We will catch you on the other side. Love you so much, and have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
How do I end it? Oh, I can't end it. I think you can end it. I don't have an end button.